Yeah, it's dishonorable to say the least, and it's interesting watching a guy like Tim Walz rise to the levels of political office that he's had, based upon lies and mistruths. And it's not just dishonorable. I mean, this is a guy who is a dishonorable man with a forked tongue, and the age of deception is upon us, and he's playing into it, and he's actually speaking to people and telling them what they want to hear while misrepresenting themselves. I've only had 8 combat deployments. I wish I could have did more for my country, to be honest with you. My friends
Wow.
sweated and bled in war, and many of my friends didn't come home, and then many of my friends died when they got back home. Um, this guy is not a warrior. He's never been a warrior. Listening to that soundbite, to be honest with you, Emerald, it sounds like he takes direction from his daughter Hope on what he's going to do in political office more than anything else. He definitely doesn't have the foundations of honor, courage, and commitment like we have in the military. He definitely doesn't subscribe to the founding fathers' principles and values of our nation. And he's out for himself, and that's why they picked him, because he's going to go along to get along, and he's all about power, and he's all about population manipulation, and so he found his stage, and he's going to do well at it.
That is the concern, right? Because look, it's very clear that they're trying to bolster support for the Harris Walz ticket in a way that I believe is to conduct election fraud. I don't believe they actually have that kind of support, and we talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. But there's a viable chance, there's a feasible chance that this man could one day be commander in chief because he would be number 2 on the ticket. And look, we have never lived, I don't believe, in crazier political times, so you don't know what's going to happen even if Harris is at the top of the ticket and they make it into the administration. Um, how would military members feel about their commander in chief having lied about his military background, and then he's supposed to be leading them?
Well, listen, right now, currently the military is broke. That's why we can't meet our
Yeah.
recruiting numbers. In the military, we talk about the tooth to tail ratio, where right now we have, for every one true warrior, a guy or a gal that's going to go out there in the harm's way and actually conduct combat operations to win our nation's wars. We have about a 15-to-1 ratio. That means we have about 15 people to support every one warfighter. So, with
Wow.
that being said, we got a good amount of people in the military that are just using it as a social welfare jobs program, other than kind of like what Tim Walsh did when he just checking boxes with the
Mhm.
National Guard. Hey, I'll go to Italy if they call me into service. I'll even touch foot in Norway, have a good time. Oh, but by the way, they might send me to Iraq where I'm going to be on the base the whole time, but I can still catch a mortar round into my nice little air conditioned office on base that's being protected by young baby faced Americans who are actually in harm's way. I can't do that. I'm going to get out and run for Congress. And now, slowly, this guy, who's a coward by nature and a traitor to America, is rising up in the ranks. So I would tell you, of course, the Warriors are going to be like, we're not going to work underneath him. We don't want to work underneath Joe. We don't want to
Mhm.
work underneath Kamala. And they're all in the same kind of group who's really undermined, demotivated, took out the emphasis in serving our country. I would tell you from the inside, from my tribe, everybody's talking about it's time to protect our homeland. It's time to protect our family.
Yeah.
It's time to protect what we truly care about, because the powers to be would never send themselves, let alone their sons and daughters, into harm's way for all the wars and conflicts that they're starting everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
But they'll send us and our children all day long, and then they'll give themselves the medals for it. And wrapping a coffin up in a American flag just to do rah rah on the false, flag of freedom for their own agenda is not true patriotism. True patriotism to America is knowing when to fight and when not to die for those who don't care about you.